Hello everyone and welcome to the Jeffrey Epstein Show. I'm your host, Bobbycapucci, and this is a morning update. Alan, I kept my underpants on, Dershowitz. This jackoff is once again running around in the media talking trash about the survivors and acting like he is the one who is a victim. It is gross, disgusting, and unconscionable to think that this man would run around with this line of thought and that nobody would call him on it. That nobody in the legacy media would have the balls to step up and call Alan Dershowitz out on his absolute bullshit. Well, according to Mr. Dershowitz, he loves the First Amendment. So do I. In light of that, I'm going to use my First Amendment rights during this episode to eviscerate him. Our article is from the Jerusalem Post. The headline, Dershowitz, I don't believe Virginia Roberts' claims on Ehud Barak. Well, that's funny because none of us believe your claims about anything. The author of this article, Leon Sverdlov. Jeffrey Epstein's former lawyer, not just lawyer, okay? Jeffrey Epstein's former lawyer and pal, his friend, his buddy, his confidant, and Harvard professor Alan Dershowitz denied allegations of sexual misconduct at a Thursday interview with I-24 News, saying he does not believe Virginia Roberts' claims concerning former Israeli Prime Minister Ehud Barak. Wasn't it you who threw Ehud Barak under the bus in the first place, you epic moron? And now, you're going to come through with some nonsense like this? Oh, I don't believe her claims against Ehud Barak. Of course you don't believe her claims against Ehud Barak, because you'd be putting the finger on yourself, you jackoff. I don't know about you folks, but of all of these people that are involved in this case, Dershowitz really rubs me the wrong way. I hate this man. And I hate the fact that he goes unchecked and unchallenged so often by the legacy media. Roberts, who is now 36, is a survivor of Epstein's sex trafficking ring, groomed by the billionaire associate, co-conspirator, child abuser, general scuzzbag, Ghislaine Maxwell. According to NBC News, the woman met Maxwell while working at now U.S. President Donald Trump's private Mar-a-Lago club when she was 16. She is a monster. She's worse than Epstein, Roberts said about Maxwell in an interview with CBS News. She did things even worse than Epstein did. She was vicious, she was evil, and she's a woman. That's a poignant fact, because when you think about cases like this, right, and you think about the sex trafficking rings and abusers, you usually think about men, right? But when you start to look at things and you start to take a good inventory of what's going on, especially in these large criminal trafficking rings like this, you start to see a picture emerge where there are women who are in leadership roles. You saw it with NXIVM as well, with Allison Mack and all of the underlings, and I think it's a subject that definitely garners more attention and more research. While underage, Roberts was allegedly forced to have sex with multiple men, including the UK's Joe Exotic of the Windsor family. Dershowitz and Barak are allegedly among the men to whom Roberts was trafficked by the pedophile and his British co-conspirator. Yeah, point blank period. Those are the accusations, Mr. I kept my underpants on Dershowitz. And so far, you've provided ungats to support yourself in this case. Whereas Virginia Roberts, on the other hand, has been nothing but credible and has leveled all sorts of credible charges that are backed up by evidence and witness statements. Meanwhile, your whole defense is, well, the Clintons were there. There was all of these academics and scientists there. There was nothing bad going on. Meanwhile, multiple scientists are accused of being part of the trafficking ring. Clinton's a man of low moral character, and these are the people that you're going to point to and say, well, they were there as well? I'm sorry, but I don't think that's ever going to work for anybody who is paying attention. A person can be a victim of Jeffrey Epstein and then victimize somebody else like me, Dershowitz told I-24 News Thursday. I am the victim of a serious, serious crime, the attorney said. Yo, this guy, I'll tell you what, I don't really curse on this podcast, right, folks? You know, I'm not really firing off a bunch of F-bombs or anything because I try to be conscious of who's listening. But in this instance, I'm going to have to deviate from that course. Alan Dershowitz, go fuck yourself, bro. You are an absolute piece of shit. A scumbag, a dirty ass piece of garbage is what you are. How dare you? How dare you try and paint yourself as some sort of victim here? You know who the victim is? Virginia Roberts. What you're accused of doing to her, sir, is fucking disgusting. And you should be ashamed of yourself. But to have shame, you would have to actually have some morals, right? You would have to actually be a good person to feel shame. And we know that's not what you are. You take advantage of those that are less fortunate. You think you're better than other people. And then you run around with these foul-ass statements that are never checked by anybody. Well, those days are done. The days of you running away with the narrative and stuffing it down somewhere so nobody can see it, that's done too. You're not going to continue to destroy these girls' reputations. We know it worked for you in the 2008 trial and you're trying that strategy again, but guess what? Not this time. Not anymore. The world is watching. You would think that a woman who has accused the Prince of England, the former Prime Minister of Israel, the majority leader of the Senate, George Mitchell, you would think that a woman who made those kind of charges that rocked 3 continents would be investigated by the media, he said. Yeah, you would think so, right? You fucking asshole. But it's not. The media, you say that and you use your words to set things up so it looks like you're asking for an investigation. You do this all the time. Meanwhile, that's not what you want. You don't want an investigation. You want this to go away. Well, it's not going away, okay? And if the media really dug into this the way they should, do you understand what they would find? But they can't because they're complicit. They gave all of you cover for so long that it would out them as the scumbags that they are. Well, Mr. Dershowitz, you're not dealing with the legacy media anymore. You are now dealing with the independent media. Independent journalists, independent content creators, and you are also dealing with survivors who have decided to fight back against your bullshit narrative and stand up for themselves. You're not the bully anymore here, Mr. Dershowitz. You're not the one calling the shots. Remember, this is 2020, and this year, the predator has become the prey. Look, I do not believe anything Virginia Roberts says, and so when she says that Ehud Barak was involved with her, I do not believe that, Dershowitz continued. What she did, I believe, is went through Jeffrey Epstein's Rolodex, found every prominent name, Ehud Barak, let me accuse him. Alan Dershowitz, let me accuse him. That falls flat on its fucking face, you asshole. Okay? If that was the case, don't you think Trump and Clinton and all of these other people would have been accused of what you're being accused of? Very small group being accused of what you're being accused of, you sick prick, you disgusting old bastard. I am so tired of everybody dealing with this guy with kid gloves, like he's some kind of a legend or something. Bitch, you ain't shit. You're just another scumbag so-called elite who thinks that they can prey on those who don't have as much as them. Those who might not be in the same circle as them. Don't act like we're not just cattle to you, Dershowitz, you douchey son of a bitch. And furthermore, how dare you? Those are some pretty large claims, friend. Some pretty large claims. Do you have any proof of that? Or are you just running around saying it? I believe. Just to get it out, the narrative out there. Well, I believe, see how this works? That you assaulted Virginia Roberts. How about that? Run home and tell Ehud Barak that, because all of you, George Mitchell, Ehud Barak, Len Wexner, all of you that have been named are not wiggling off of this hook. Believe it, buddy. In October 2019, Roberts sued Dershowitz for defamation after he called her a serial perjurer, a serial liar, and a serial prostitute, the New York Post reported. Can you imagine this fucking guy? I'm sorry about the F-bombs, folks, but I am fired up. This guy is an absolute piece of shit. It is unseemly the way he has taken to the battlefield to attack Virginia. We're talking about a girl who survived untold horrors at the hands of Jeffrey Epstein. How dare you, Alan, I kept my underpants on Dershowitz. The Me Too movement wants to present one side of the story, he told I-24 News. They want to present only victims. They want to make the argument that women are born essentially with a genetic predisposition to telling the truth and men always lie. Well, that falls flat on its face here because everybody who listens to this podcast knows that I don't just go after anybody who's accused. Evidence, bro. The evidence leads to you. Shut your goddamn mouth with your dumbass excuses and trying to blame the Me Too movement, okay? You are credibly accused. You are credibly accused. And the other side of the argument, what are you talking about? The idiots in the legacy media give you ample forum for you to get up there on your soapbox and wax poetic about what a great man you are. So please, save that. In her interview with CBS, Roberts said Maxwell was in possession of incriminating material on powerful individuals, saying her life was in danger. If she squeals on some of the people that she has videos on, they won't be happy with her talking about that, she said. We've discussed that, and we know from the survivors themselves, Virginia, Maria, etc., that all of these properties were wired to take video of these people so they could use it as blackmail and so that they could force these people into doing favors for them and conducting themselves in a manner that was befitting to Jeffrey Epstein, Ghislaine Maxwell, and their criminal organization. Very well-known names, the government officials, the politicians, the royalty, Roberts told CBS. They were taping everybody, every moment, she continued. When you walked into the New York mansion to Palm Beach, everything was being filmed. And again, my question is, where are all those tapes? Does the FBI have them? We haven't heard anything about it. We know the FBI seized a shit ton of evidence, but we haven't heard anything specifically about these tapes. So I wish there'd be a little more transparency, and I wonder moving forward if prosecution is going to present the tapes as evidence, perhaps. Roberts said she did not at all think the people involved in Epstein's sex trafficking ring knew they were being filmed by Maxwell. It was surreal. It was momentous, she said. It's one of those life moments that I'll never forget. And this isn't just one person with these accusations, folks. All of these girls have talked about the cameras. All of these survivors have talked about how this was a blackmail operation. And especially Virginia has been very, 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 very upfront about those who were involved in not only enabling Jeffrey Epstein, but abusing her. And this dirty son of a bitch, this self-righteous, full of hubris asshole, Alan Dershowitz, really needs to get stuffed. This is a man who has no boundaries to his disgusting rhetoric, to the disgusting, vile things he will say. But guess what? His time's coming as well. Alan Dershowitz has gotten away with his shit for way too long. He's a bully, he's a loudmouth, and he thinks he is above the law. Well, he's not. If you'd like to contact me, you can do that at Bobbycapucci@protonmail.com. That's BOBBYCAPUCCI@protonmail.com. You can also find me on Twitter at BOBBY_CAPUCCI. You can find the link to the GoFundMe account inside the description box, and you can also find the link to the article we talked about. All right, everybody, I'll be back later on with a little bit more.